I'm happy to kick off, because I think when I spoke with Amy, this is definitely something that's very close to my heart. I have two young girls, they're 7 and 5. And I think what's interesting, a few of us said we all fell into tech. I didn't say how long I'd worked in tech, so I've been in tech nearly 20 years now. It's been my whole career path, but I still fell into it. And at a young age, and even at kind of a college age, it's just a career I never saw myself going into. And a lot of the work that I do now, when I try and kind of give some time back to encourage more women into tech, what you often find is there's lots of activity in the high school space, which is fantastic, in the university space, even in the graduate space. I do lots of talk, but it's almost like it's so far down someone's kind of educational route. There's so many pre-filters and preconceptions are already built at that time. And what I would really love for my own daughters and for other girls is just more openness, discussion and awareness about tech. You know, kids are using tech all day, every day, whether we like it or not. And I'd just love to see more done at the primary school age. I was even asking my eldest, who's 7, have you done any coding? Because she said, and I think there's bits here and there. I don't know if it's formally part of the curriculum. And I would just love for them to understand and appreciate a bit more what my role is. They always get the parents in who are doctors, who are nurses, who have these very like well-known and traditional jobs for younger people. But why is no one inviting me into school to do that talk? You know, tech is everywhere now, and we need to be encouraging people at that young age to kind of get in before any pre-filters are set, in my view.
No, brilliant.
Yeah. Similar to that, I was thinking about this last night, and you mentioned that, Amelia, that you'd never see yourself going into that, but I actually never even considered it. And I was thinking, well, why didn't I consider that? And I think back to, like, if you think of Disney films, so you'd never see like Elsa playing with like a computer or electronics, even like as growing up, like my toys were like makeup or Barbie dolls. So it'd be great to see like more like technology focused toys for children and young girls to really to open that space up and get them thinking more about tech. And I think it starts really outside of schools as well, so in that societal piece and in families as well. I was thinking, I grew up with 2 brothers and a older sister, and I was third in the pecking line in terms of getting access to the computer. So I'd wait all day, and then I'd have that really short period of time. We only had one computer growing up to actually go on the computer. So I think it starts at society and in families as well at that early age, to get children and young girls more in line with thinking about technology and their careers and the fun aspect of it as well.
What's quite interesting though is it doesn't help, you know, like hacker movies that they just sit there coding, you know. So when you ask some you know, like some young women what they think being in IT is about, it's like you sit at your computer and all you do is code. So they get kind of like this weird thing of like of movies, but they don't really understand like where tech involves a huge amount of different types of roles. And actually, if you got that out more into the industry, it most probably get younger females wanting to go into those roles and having those different types of possibilities. So when I did a talk with for some university students who were actually doing computing degrees, and I asked them why they were doing their degree, do you know what they said to me? And I found it quite strange. They went, well, I'm doing a computer and science degree with security, but I only did it because it's going to make me some money. See the difference. It's like, it's not about, tech isn't about, for me, isn't about money. It's about making a change for a client or for people or for persons. And I think this is where I think actually understanding the roles, yeah, you can make money from it, but it also can be a big career. You know, you can actually make a big difference to people by being in tech.
It's quite strange that it's sort of never spoken about what influence tech can have on people as well. I think, especially before I got into sort of tech recruitment, I just thought tech was you sit at a computer, you're on your own, you're very isolated. Like, you never think about the impact it's had on the NHS, for instance, with the track and trace apps and the things that it's doing for people and how it's helping people organise the days, or how it's maybe helping people just do general day-to-day things. Like, I think people do just genuinely go in for it for a lot of money nowadays. I think that's a really good point, Tina.
I think we're really lucky to be in the position that we are now, where women are a lot more outspoken, and you know, we're not like owned by men legally and things like that. Because when I was young, my mum and dad always, I think they wanted me to get a career, right? So you go to university to do a course that you would have a job at the end of. So medicine, law, accountancy, because those are like traditional roles. But I also don't think people necessarily see or have seen women as business people. I've never done code, like couldn't do it. If you sat me in front of a computer and was like, write some HTML, I'd be like, you're gonna have to shoot me, because I've got no idea. But I almost think that we're in a really lucky position to be able to start re-influencing younger people now, and that business isn't a dirty word. I mean, I was in sales and recruitment myself, and Amy, you'll know how difficult is it to overcome that stigma of, well, you're a recruiter.
Yeah.
And we're able to do that now a lot more. How? I honestly don't know, Amelia. I think going into primary schools and having the curriculum changed is absolutely the right way to do that. But I still feel it's a shame that you're not invited to the table, given the position that you are, to be able to say to people, I rock, like I kick ass, like look at what we do. How do we break down those barriers then?
Oh, go on, you go.
No, I was going to say, I mean, you ladies are right. I think it starts from outside the school and also starts from the home, because what I've started doing now is kind of, you know, trying to get my kids to think about what they do every day, even with using their phones and all that. Try to think of, do you know how this is invented, you know? And I'm also giving them insight into what I do and the kind of changes I make. And you know, because you're right, when you ask them what do they want to do after school, they want to become a doctor or an engineer. I think the society has kind of preconditioned that into their head, that that's the coolest job out there. But being in tech, you know, I just kind of tell them that being in tech is not just being in front of your computer and just coding. You make a lot of change. You can change the world being in tech. This is what I do. You know, I tell them what I do, and I tell them also the benefits of what I do. And I mean, is it not so cool that I work from home, work from anywhere, but I'm making so much impact? And, you know, so you kids can actually, in your generation, because you understand what's happening out there now, more than even we do, you can make a lot of difference getting into tech. You don't have to be a doctor or engineer to make a big difference. And I think they're kind of, starting to understand that. And you're right, I think it's going to be cool to really get this into the school curriculum from beginning, from primary schools, for kids to really understand that it's not a men's world. Anyone, even women, do better in tech. So getting that from the young age will make a big, massive difference.
I think they don't, just from sort of my perspective, I think they don't really make tech fun enough at school as well. You sort of taught, this is a computer, we're going to teach you how to use Excel, we're going to teach you how to use Microsoft, but maybe going back to your point where like your kids have got your games, you teach them how it's made, what impacts it's got. It'd be nice for them to bring like Xbox in and go, look, this is what you could make. You could help develop a game, or you could help to make this system that's going to have this impact, rather than just you're going to type on a computer and this is all your computer is going to be used for, and that's all tech. That's all I learned at school. I didn't learn anything about where that could go, what the possibility of tech was. It was just, here's Excel, that's all that tech is. And I was like, okay, cool.
You're right.
In school, did anyone have to do that? I remember my IT lessons, right? And this is God, I don't even know how long ago, right? And we had to solve a problem of traffic lights. And that was my introduction to IT. And it was like, when do each of the traffic lights go? And I was like, what? How is that? I don't understand. I think you're right. Like, there needs to be some sort of like concept for kids to want to be able to get into it, to see what other aspects there are.
Exactly. Instead of just teaching them what is the keyboard, what is the, you know, because now all they're teaching them is a part of the computer, what the computer does. But they don't go far enough to really teach them the impact and what you can do, you know, with that. And it makes it really boring for them.
Yeah, I think there's something in there, a theme that's coming up for me that I think a few of us have touched on, is that everything's quite independent and insular, how it's portrayed in the films, you know, the work that kids are given. But I think collectively what we're all saying in the roles that we have and have had over our career, it's those project-based roles. If you think if you introduce like to kids a bit more of the project way of solving problems, it's not how does the traffic light sequence work, which has actually got me thinking now. I'm like, oh, that sounds a bit hard. Like it's more like you've got this role and you're responsible for the timekeeping, and you've got the money in the pot, and it's more about that teamwork and collaboration that you see in modern agile delivery teams that is actually really exciting. And it's through the teamwork. It's not just the person in the film, you know, in a dark room doing the coding as the stereotype is often given up. It's all of us have a different role to help bring tech that changes lives, that has an impact to life. Because you're right, you know, my father-in-law is an ex-carpenter, and he said to me once, yeah, but what do you actually do? What do you deliver? Because obviously to some people tech is really intangible. I was like, we're building an IT system for the government that's going to do this, you know. There is a tangible output as a result of it. And yeah, not all of it is me, but that's the great thing. I work with great people, great minds. No 2 days are the same because I'm in this great team working space. So yeah, there's something in there about bringing to life how the work is actually done and delivered, and the different roles that you have within that. And it's not all about the code. So yeah, I love that. Really good ideas.
I think for me, one of the first times I sort of saw an interest in tech and saw that it was a bit more than just this boring computer thing. I watched a podcast with a guy called Mike Winnett, and I can't remember the woman's name on it, but she was an ethical hacker, and she just spoke about how she'd like work to like break into banks. So she wouldn't just do it on the computer, she'd like and get into the vaults, and like she'd do it through the computer, and how her and a team would work. And it'd be interesting to maybe get young kids together and maybe set up a situation where they've got to sort of tend to hack into something as a team, and then they can learn that coding's not just, or tech isn't just this straightforward, oh, computer, it's actually like a big team effort to get a good result out of it. So I don't know if that'd be something that you guys maybe take from that as well.
Yeah, that's good. I've got to kind of practice what I preach and now go and speak to my kids' primary school and be like, I've got these great ideas now. There's something else I was just thinking of, because I don't know if the conversation is going to move on, but there was something in there about, you know, people coming into tech just for the money. And as we know, it's a very interesting competitive market. Great if you're a candidate, really hard if you're trying to hire like me. But I think the point I'm trying to make is something I'm really passionate about, is the reason I've chosen the career and I enjoy it so much, and I'm happy to work full time. You know, there's a lot of space that I don't get time for each week because I enjoy my career so much, and it is a huge part of who I am and how I identify myself, is the fact that it gives me such independence. You know, I love the fact that I help to break down certain stereotypes around, you know, the roles, you know, that as a working parent I could have. You know, I love to see the shocked faces when I kind of tell people what I do and what I've delivered over my career, and I want to be that inspiration for my kids. But I think there's something in there. It's not just the money. Like I want everyone to find their passion and purpose in a career they love in life, so they're excited to get up every day. Like you know, I've been out of work in between jobs, and it just coincided with one of my maternity. So officially I was unemployed while on my second maternity, and it messed with my mind because I kind of lost a little bit of who I was, and I really struggled when I met people at like, Mum, who are you and what do you do? And I just used to say I was in my old job even though I had left. So there's something in there about bringing to life. It's not just the money. I love working in tech because it gives me independence and freedom, and a career that's ever changing, ever evolving. Like, look at all the different roles we've had. I'm always learning because I'm surrounded by great people, and tech always changes. So there's an element of, there's so much more in addition to a great career path and maybe a great salary at the end of it, that you can associate for kind of the benefits to working in tech. So I don't know if that kind of came out like well, but yeah, there's other benefits to the career other than just that you get personally and kind of internally, which is why I love what I do.
Well, guys, has anyone else got anything else they'd like to add just before we quickly move on?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't know, for organizations, I don't know, I'm just thinking in my mind, can we have, so, you know, instead of just getting into schools, can we have a day where we can bring maybe few students into the office and see a day in the life of a tech person, what we do, just for them to see what our world is like, and kind of change that conception they have in their head that, it's boring, I don't know, it might help.
I think that's a really good idea. You could maybe have open days to invite people like primary school kids to come in and learn about what you do and set up activities in the workspace so you can see what it's about. Really good point. Yeah. Anybody else?
I just wanted to add, we touched on curriculum there. We talked about like IT classes and how mundane they used to be, but I think it's not just in terms of curriculum, it's also celebrating women in history lessons. So let's not forget Ada Lovelace, the first computer programmer, Margaret Hamilton, the woman who came up with the idea of software engineering. I took history, but I didn't learn about that until I actually went into technology. So I think that's such an important message to get through to young women, that look at all these fabulous women who have really succeeded and excelled in technology. You can do the same.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, especially because I think in history a lot of tech gets left behind because you just think about wars and things like that, but tech's ever evolving, it's sort of shaping our future as well. So not speaking about it in things like history lessons seems a bit daft now when you think about it, because it involves so much of our future.